What's the question?
Mosquitoes!
Does anybody have a question from the crowd?
Where is Sloan?
Mario.
Where is Sloan?
Mario?
Sloan's out campaigning for me.
No, we're not campaigning. You know, we have a $200 million authorization. Next month, this next session is going to come up. Are you guys going to help me, or help the county, help us get the first $50 million?
The question was about the wastewater. Back in since we have some time, I'll give you a little history on it. Back in 1998, well, just even further history, I served the Florida House from 86 to 94. When I got out of the House, I was succeeded by Debbie Horan and then Ken Sorensen. When Ken Sorensen first came into office, they passed a mandate on the Florida Keys for wastewater treatment. It seemed like a long time away. They made some promise about money. I think Commissioner Nugent was around back then, and they didn't come through those promises. When I came into office back in 2006, one of the first things I tried to do was get some wastewater money. The question they asked me in Tallahassee was, well, what is it going to take to finish all your projects in the Keys? Nobody knew that answer. So I held several wastewater summits, and we came into, the number was huge. It was like $1 billion. And so we had never asked for that much money from the state of Florida. So we got together, and about 3 years ago, I guess now, Representative Mayfield and I, along with help from the Commissioner, went up there and passed a bill that would authorize $200 million in state bonds. These are bonds to be paid back by the state, not by us. That passed in a bipartisan approach, county commissioners, the state legislature. The problem was, the next year when it starts to start funding, is when we start running budget deficits in the state of Florida. The state of Florida has a debt ceiling. And they were not issuing bonds. Not just for us, we didn't issue Florida Forever, Save the Everglades, we did not do bonding. So that was the problem. So this year we had to go back up there and make it clear that even though we didn't get year one, it's supposed to be $50 million a year for 4 years. When we missed year one, we said, well, let's make it clear that just because you miss a year of funding, not for our fault, you do not lose that $50 million. So we got this year a reauthorization that made it clear that if you skip a year, you will not lose that money. Now the problem is, in answer to Commissioner DeGenero's question, I'm not sure we're going to get it this year, because we're going to go back to Tallahassee this year with a $6 billion deficit. And the bad news with the budget this year, unlike last year, we're not going to get federal stimulus dollars. So I've been sitting on the Appropriations Committee. I'm the ranking member on appropriations. I got to tell you, I'm not very optimistic about the state budget. It's starting to turn around, but I think we're about 2 or 3 more years away from getting the state budget back in shape. Having said that, the second part of the bill we passed this year gave us a 5-year extension. Because as of July 1 of 2010, had we not been in compliance with the whole Keys, property owners were going to face major fines. So we're able to get that extension for until 2015. So hopefully by then, between now and then, we will be able to get the state budget back in shape and start getting that money flowing from the state. That's a long answer, but since we have time.
Are we going to get it, yes or no? Are you going to fight for it is my question. Are you going to
The answer to the question is yes, I'm going to fight for it. It was the number one issue this year for me in the legislature. It became very partisan because some of the people that supported Mr. Gardi's opponent, McPherson, basically tried to kill the bill because they did not want me to get political credit for getting the bill passed. And there was the person that supported and recruited Mr. McPherson actually tried to kill the bill that would have given us the extension and the reauthorization. And so that's the problem politically, is that sometimes the games in Tallahassee are a little tough, but I am going to fight for it because it's so important. We in the Keys cannot afford the full freight for the sewer system. It was not a mandate put on us. We need to get the state and federal government to come up with their share.
Thank you, Ron. Mario, great question. I think the extension was critical. I think we're probably going to need another extension, to be honest with you. The reality behind this, last night I had somewhat of an epiphany. After we had our state representative debate up in Key Largo, I stepped aside and I was listening to the county commissioners debate. And I found this very intriguing concept. And it's why I'm running for office. It's Mario's fighting for money from the state. Morgan's, I think his O in his bold plan is obtain money. We're talking about the federal government giving us more money. Unfortunately, that's why I'm running. Not everything I'm saying is cheery to everybody, but we have to break ourselves from the mentality that we can just expect to get money from a system that is going bankrupt. By all means going bankrupt. Our federal deficit is $1.4 trillion. During the month of July, the federal government spent $20 billion in the interest alone. We have to remember, when we say get that money, do you know where it comes from? It comes from us. It comes right out of our pocket, but it's also added an interest payment. We can't. There's so many laudable causes. The first thing we have to do is get our fiscal house in order. We can't expect to magically grow out of that. We have to promote small and medium-sized businesses to get the job growth that will sustain a good economy, not more taxation, not more debt. It's a crisis, folks, and we have to break our mindset as Americans and Floridians that we can't keep turning to Big Brother to solve our problems. We're going to go through some tough times, and I'm a politician that's going to give you the reality. Mario, I have a question for you. When the issue first came out that my opponent received money from the Republican Party, I asked local Republican leaders to take a stand whether they thought it was right or wrong. You have yet to answer. Do you think the Republican Party was appropriately giving my opponent, Morgan McPherson, money prior to the primary?
Gardi.
Well, the guy put me on the spot. You know, I am a Republican, a true Republican. Do I think he was right? I really think that because you came in at the last moment and nobody knew you were coming in, you didn't calculate it. I think the way you handled it is inappropriate. You should have went to them and said, I deserve the same thing also. I'm not finished. The day you called me, demanded an answer from me, like a state attorney or I was on a deposition, I should answer you in a minute. You came in the last second. Was it right? It was bad timing. Why don't you be kind to them instead of criticizing them and say, just give me the same thing, and maybe you will get it. That's what I would recommend you to do to get that money.
Thank you, Mario. The reality is, I was very kind to them. I called both the state party, I called the local party leaders, and asked them if they'd help support get that same money. I was flatly refused. We have to dispel the myth that I got in this race late. What happened was the Republican state party gave money too early. It wasn't just a week, it wasn't just 2 weeks, it was in March, ladies and gentlemen. The qualifying ended in June. So, I'm sorry I did not go kiss the ring of the state Republican leaders. I'm sorry I did not kiss the ring of a local party. Because I'll tell you, when I win this primary, I'm going to want people to answer for their lack of support.
Maybe like a business. Two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right. Maybe now you should negotiate with them to help you to go on with your thing. And I would support that. And that's what you should do. Not fight, not be aggressive. And that's what's happened. That's what happened to me in my first term. When I first started, I was too aggressive. You should calm down. And you should negotiate.
Hey, Mario. You always talk about getting the money. You want to get the Republican Party on the phone right now and you negotiate getting you the same money? I thought we had that number.
One second, I have to answer that question. If you're going to be our state representative and represent the state, you should be capable of negotiating for yourself. Do not be me for that.
Thank you, everyone. I have nothing else to say. I think that's said it all.
Thank you all for